Today we're going to be learning how to multiply integers. And first we're going to start off with the models and then we're going to go to the formal rules. So here we're going to start with our counter models. You need to make sure you are writing all the examples that we do in the video into your notebook so that you can go back and look at them when we do our activities in class. So our first model here is 2 times 3. We have to really think about what does 2 times 3 mean. Okay, it means 2 groups of 3. Whatever number comes first, that's your groups. Whatever number comes second, that is what is in each group. So we need 2 groups of 3. So we have 3 positives because it's positive 3, and we have 2 groups of that because it said we needed 2 groups of it. So now let's look at the second one. It's 2 times negative 3. So that means we need 2 groups. 2 groups of negative 3 because we have 3 negatives in each group. And so you would show the negative 3 with our 3 reds. We need 2 groups of it. So we have 1 group, 2 groups. Now, what if the negative sign is in the front of the problem? The negative sign in the front of the problem means the opposite of, and then whatever the rest of the problem says. So we need the opposite of 2 groups of positive 3. So negative 2 times 3 means the opposite of 2 groups of 3. That negative sign in front means the opposite of. And the way that you do the pictures for this, you have a before and an after. The before is how the problem is phrased. So the opposite of, we have the negative with our brackets. So we're going to enclose everything. And then you look on the inside. You can kind of imagine a pair of parentheses right here. Okay, so we need the opposite of 2 groups of 3. So inside our brackets, we have our 2 groups of positive 3. And now you have to show me what is the opposite of 2 groups of positive 3. Well, it would be 2 groups of negative 3 because the opposite of positive is negative. And again, make sure you've got these examples in your notebook. So let's move on to this one. Negative 2 times negative 3. What does that mean? The opposite of 2 groups of negative 3. So the opposite of okay, that negative sign in the front means the opposite of. So again, with your picture, you see how we have our bracket and our negative sign on the outside of the brackets? You got to do that too. And inside, it says we need 2 groups of negative 3. So what is the opposite of 2 groups of negative 3? 2 groups of positive 3. The thing that you really need to take away from these examples is when it's got the negative sign in front, you have to remember to do your like 2-stage model, the before and the after. Now we're going to do a couple together here, and then I'm going to give you a couple to model on your own in your notebook so you're prepared for class. First one, 2 times 4. That's 2 groups of positive 4. So we need to get our counters. So we need 4 yellows in one group, and it says we need 2 groups of that. So we have our 2 groups of positive 4. And now we look at our groups together. How much do we have in all these groups together? 8 positives. So 2 groups of positive 4 is positive 8. Next example, 2 times negative 4. 2 groups of negative 4. So we need 4 negatives per group. And we need 2 groups of that. Right there. And you got to show your circles to show your groups. And what is in these 2 groups together? 8 negatives, so it's negative 8. Next one. The opposite of 2 times 5. We want the opposite of 2 groups of 5. So start with your initial groups, remember, kind of look at it like this. Start with your negative sign and your brackets. And it says we need 2 groups of 5. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll draw our circles to show our groups. So there's that one. There's that one. And what is the opposite of 2 groups of positive 5? It's going to be 2 groups of negative 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Show your grouping. And if you count up all the counters here, we're going to have 10 negatives, so it's negative 10. Now we go on to this one here. The opposite of 2 groups of negative 5. So what is the opposite of 2 groups of negative 5? Draw our picture, the opposite of, and we want 2 groups of negative 5. So we need 5 negatives. We need 2 groups of that. We gotta close up our brackets. And then what is that going to be equal to? What is the opposite of a bunch of negatives? A bunch of positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And draw our groups here. So the opposite of 2 groups of negative 5 is going to be 2 groups of positive 5, which is equal to 10. Now I want for you guys to go through and do these 2 examples in your notebook. Okay? Those 2 examples are going to be in your notebook to show me that you have watched the video and taken notes on it. So I will be looking for that proof in class. Now our next kind of model that we're going to do is with the number lines. Again, this is 2 groups of positive 4. So we show them with our arrows, and this time we're going to put our arrows end to end. So always start at 0. We need 2 groups of 4. So we need 2 arrows that are each 4 long, and they're positive 4, so that's going to be going to the right. So here's our first arrow. That's 4 units long. Now we need our second arrow that is also 4 units long. And where do you end at? Positive 8. So 2 times 4 is going to be 8. And this would be the picture for it. Now 2 groups of negative 4. So we need 2 arrows, and each arrow is going to be negative 4, which means 4 to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Right there, there's negative 4. All right, and we need our second arrow. 1, 2, 3, 4. And where do we end up? At negative 8. So 2 groups of negative 4 is negative 8. One more number line example, and again, make sure you've got these number line examples in your notebook. All examples go in your notebook. We have negative 5 times negative 2. Remember, when the negative is on the front, that means the opposite of. So we have the opposite of. So we're going to look here. It says we need 5 groups of negative 2. So negative 2 would normally go to the left, right? But it says we need the opposite of that. So instead of needing 5 groups of negative 2, we need the opposite of that, which means we really need 5 groups of positive 2. So we need to start at 0, and we go 1, 2, there's 1, here's 2, here's 3, 4, and our 5th group. So the opposite of 5 groups of negative 2 is 5 groups of positive 2, so it takes us to positive 10. Okay, now we're done with our models, so we're going to talk about the rules in general. You should have noticed that when they have like signs, so that means both positive or both negative, then your answer is going to come out as a positive. All right, an example of that, 5 times 5. That's positive 25. Negative 5 times negative 5, that's also positive 25. When they're both positive or both negative, your answer is going to be positive. Now, if they have unlike signs, where one is positive and one is negative, then your answer is going to be negative. So for example, 5 times negative 5, it's going to be negative 25. Negative 5 times 5 is also negative 25. So if they're the same, answer is positive. If they're different, your answer is negative. You can kind of think about it like teammates. If they're on the same team, they have a positive relationship with each other. If they're on different teams, they probably don't have such a positive relationship with each other, so they're negative. So let's do a few examples. And again, you are writing these in your notebook. 3 times negative 5. Do they have same signs or different signs? Different. So we know your answer is going to be negative. And 3 times 5, that's 15. So negative 15. Negative 6 times a positive 8. They have unlike signs, so our answer is going to be negative, and 6 times 8 is 48. Negative 9 times negative 2. Like signs, so our answer is going to be positive, and what's 9 times 2? 18. Do a couple more. These, remember we've done a bellwork problem kind of like this. We said that you just multiply all three numbers together. So you do these two first, and then you'll multiply that third one. So 3 times negative 2, they have unlike signs, so it's negative 6. And then you have times negative 4. They have like signs, so our answer is going to be positive, and 6 times 4 is 24. This one, you do negative 1 times negative 2. They have like signs, so your answer is positive. 1 times 2 is 2. And then times negative 9, positive and a negative. They have unlike signs, so your answer is negative. And 2 times 9 is 18. Now I'm going to leave you guys this one here to do in your notebook. And again, all these examples are evidence that you have watched the video. And then finally, one word problem to close this out. A mountain climber climbed down a cliff 25 feet at a time. He did this 6 times in one day. What was the overall change in his elevation? So we have to think about this. How many times did he do this certain thing? He did it 6 times. So 6. That's our number of groups. Each time that he performed the action, what happened? He went down 25 feet at a time. So going down a mountain, that's negative, and it was 25 feet each time. So now I'm going to leave it to you guys to finish this multiplication out. Okay? Y'all come up with the answer for me. But whenever you're reading a word problem, you've got to look and identify how many groups and what each group is worth every time. So make sure you've got the examples down, and then when we come in class, we're going to do some more activities to make sure we've got it.